Doing well. Happy Thursday. You know who's not doing well today?
Who's that?
Elon Musk, or maybe Asmongold, depending on how you look at it. This is a very, very bizarre story that I woke up to today. So I don't know if you know this, but for years, all the lefties, all the socialists, they've been saying CEOs, Adam, they don't do anything. They don't do any work. They do zero work. All they do is sit around at the top of some high rise building in a city somewhere, collecting money from all the hard workers below them, right? They're just
I mean, that's
evil
a
rent
leftist
seekers.
perspective, obviously. Like
Yes, that is the
the
leftist
leftist
perspective.
commentaries. People on the right will obviously say, "Oh my God, these CEOs work 24/7. They're always on call. They're constantly working their fingers to the bone. They have no life."
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never believed this sort of leftist version of events here. I was like, no, no,
hmm
no. CEOs do a lot of work. That's why they make the big bucks from the board. Okay.
Right.
That all makes
It's
sense,
city
right?
mayors that don't do any work.
There you
Always
go.
flying off to Ghana. Always fucking relaxing, putting their feet up,
Right, right.
not calling in special services.
But then this story came out I think it was actually a few weeks ago, where Elon Musk was talking about being a top ranked player in Path of Exile. Okay.
hmm
Now I know you're a big boomer, right?
hmm
So have you played, you know what Diablo is, right? Think of the video game
Of
Diablo.
course. Look, I've played plenty of video games. I grew up on Counter Strike
Okay.
and yeah,
Look at this guy. But
Unreal Tournament. I played all these games. I'm
right.
not a noob when it comes
Okay.
to blowing people up online.
Okay. So
Carmageddon 2 is obviously the greatest game ever created.
there you go. So Path of Exile, if you don't know, it's like a Diablo clone S game. It's one of these top-down dungeon crawlers where kill a billion mobs. You just sort through all the junk they drop, sell it, and repeat endlessly. One of those games. And Elon Musk was claiming, he has a character that he claimed was his that was a top ranked, like in rank 12 or rank 9 or something. I don't know, very top ranked hardcore server on Path of Exile 2. And hardcore means that if your character dies once, it is gone forever.
Right.
Okay.
This is Elon's brand. He's like
Right.
hardcore everything.
Right. And I also remember like back in the day, he was all like, oh, look, here's my character from Elden Ring, super high level. I've played the game a billion times, blah, blah, blah. But the problem with the Path of Exile claim was I looked at that and I was like, holy shit, how much time does it take to get to be a top global ranked hardcore Path of Exile character? You gotta be spending like hundreds of hours playing a video game. And now I'm thinking, oh my God, please tell me that the leftists weren't correct. That Elon Musk isn't just sitting around playing video games all day. How the fuck is he doing this? This makes no sense to me. Okay.
Right.
Whatsoever. So then all of a sudden it comes out there's this guy named Quinn69 TV who made a video a few days ago. And he said it's called Elon Musk is lying about being good at video games. And basically,
Wow. Oh man.
yeah, which first of all, you're like, what? And so this guy's video, he basically goes through and he kind of goes through all the receipts of when Elon has streamed the game himself, a handful of times, and some of the things about Elon's character to show that number one, the amount of time required to be at this level that Elon's claiming it is like hundreds and hundreds of hours. It doesn't make any sense that Elon would have the time to do this. He has all this like top level gear that people are speculating he probably bought with real money, which is generally seen as a no-no in these types of games. But then also when Elon's playing the game himself and streaming it, he's doing things that are like super noob mistakes and show he doesn't have a grasp of the game. That someone who's
Whoa.
played the
Uh-oh.
game like at this super
Uh-oh.
high level for hundreds and hundreds of hours obviously wouldn't be making these mistakes when he's playing the game.
That's not good. That's
Right.
not good.
No. So everyone's like, oh, okay. What's probably happened is that Elon has someone else play the account for him, raise it up because someone who he's like literally paying as a job to just do this. And then Elon's like, oh, this is my account because I'm such a like elite gamer. Okay. Now, my first thought on this is like, this is the highest level of autism I've ever heard. Okay. Yeah. Elon Musk is like the richest man on the planet, billionaire, runs all these successful companies, is working with, the incoming president, Donald Trump. he doesn't need to be like, oh, I'm also elite gamer. Like, really? Like, why would you like it is pathetic and weird that you would have to add like out of all the accomplishments you have to add on like I'm elite gamer and lie about it.
I mean, it is cool. You got to admit the idea that he's successful at all these business ventures and he's also an elite gamer. I mean, it is cool.
No, but it's
Now that we
no.
find out it's all
Well, that
a
makes it even more
lie,
worse.
that's
Yeah.
not near as cool.
No.
That's like
Well,
super soy, right?
listen, I say this as someone who played Diablo. I mean, not the Diablo. WoW. I played Diablo 3 a little bit and Diablo 2 a little bit, but as someone who played WoW way too much, World of Warcraft way too much, and sunk way too many hours in that game. Okay, it's not like to me if Elon was like, oh look, here I am at playing some FPS and I'm like have the elite aim skills. You see, he jumps in the stream and he's got like fucking crazy aim and he's just like killing everybody. I'm like, oh okay, like that's kind of impressive. But for someone who's supposed to be running, as I said, running and managing all these companies, for him to be like, oh, I'm also this elite gamer because I've just sunk hundreds of hours in a grind fest game. That's not cool to me. That's like, what? No, that's bad. You don't have time to do this, Elon. You should be doing more productive things. So it's weird that he's lying about something that I think makes him look worse. And then when you find out it's a lie, you're like, well, now it looks double worse.
Yeah, it's
That's like
terrible.
someone like, oh, by the way, like I'm actually the number one person who eats garbage on the weekends. And you're like, what? There's even like a Guinness Book of World Record for someone who eats the most amount of garbage. And then you find out, well, actually, he was lying about that. He was paying someone to eat garbage for him. And you're like, why would you lie about this?
Well, the thought is if you're an elite gamer and you have all these other things going on, obviously you're extra good because you do it in your spare time. So that's the
Right.
thinking I think most people go to it with.
Maybe, maybe.
But
So
it's still like to lie about it. Oh my
I
god,
know it's so
it's
cringe.
crazy uncool.
So unhinged cringe to lie about this seems very weird. It's like again, he has like the highest level of status ever. Like to lie about this seems very weird and petty. So, anyways, so this
Well,
guy
second highest level of status, obviously.
well, that's true.
Two-term non-consecutive president is the highest
That's
status.
true. That's true.
Two-term presidents right under there, and then Elon Musk. He's
So,
third tier.
right. It's very high level of status, world known figure. So Quinn69 TV makes his video kind of exposing this. And Asmongold just he like watches it.
He reacts to the video.
It just reacts to it.
Wow. Oh
He
my
just
god. So
reacts to
now
it.
he's a target just for reacting to it.
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
Asmongold made the video.
No, he just reacts to it. Okay. He just reacts
Wow.
to it, which is like,
Are we
okay.
going to get slammed just for reacting to this whole situation?
Yes, Elon Musk is going to remove my check mark just because I reacted to it.
Osmongold is like giant. So
Yes.
it is going to make an impression on people if Osmongold reacts to this, brings it to the
Yes.
public consciousness. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the Quinn guy who made the video, I mean, he got good views. He has almost 900,000 views, and he has a channel. There's only 56 subs. But Asmongold, when he watched it, like his video got like 1.6 million views. So obviously he's blowing it up more than the original.
Free booting content. Oh,
right.
It's the best. It's
there
the best gig if you can get it.
So Asmongold reacts to this, and he agrees. He's giving Elon some amount of charity when he's watching it, but he agrees with most of the video that Elon obviously was paying someone to boost this account, play it for him, and then lying about it, and says that it's weird and pathetic and all this other stuff. Okay, so after this happens, Elon has like a shit fit about this on Twitter in this super weird way that people are like, what the fuck is going like he's doubling down and making it even worse. And obviously this all comes on the footsteps of the H1B drama. So it's like, like this makes it even worse. So Elon first reacts to this with this tweet.
He got community noted too.
He did.
Look at this tweet is, I mean, pretty small. 1.6 likes for 11 hours.
Well, it's like it's a response to something. It's like a reply to something.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is he didn't tweet this out. He just responded to someone.
So
probably Asmongold, right?
No, someone else, but it doesn't matter. Asmongold. Okay. So Elon Musk says Asmon behaves like a maverick, quote, independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission when he can do anything. He is not his own man.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. And so actually, wait, I didn't I should send you the I didn't send you the right thing here.
Oh
Um,
no.
so actually, so Elon, what Elon does after he says that is he releases a leak of Asmongold's DMs that he had with Asmongold.
That Elon. So Elon
Yes,
has been DMing with Asmongold.
he
He's
had some
like
DM with Asmongold that
buddies.
he released as a leak. Yes,
Okay.
I sent
Well,
it
the
to you, which I
response to
know you hate personally
Mhm.
when people leak
leaking
DMs.
DMs. Oh yeah,
Yes,
unforgivable.
yes. And so the DM that he leaked, and the DM he leaked doesn't even look bad. Um, Asmongold says, I'm going to see if my editors might want to make a second account for it even. Elon says, sure, who are these mysterious editors? And Asmongold says, two guys, and he gives their names. They basically run the entire YouTube account, LOL. So basically, any content I post is edited or uploaded by them, and they just get a cut of the ad revenue. It's a super good system, to be honest. Almost everyone on YouTube does it. So all Asmongold is saying is that he has a setup where he produces content, then he has two people who edit and manage his channel, and
And
then
Elon thinks these are his bosses.
yes, and Elon says these are his boss.
Oh my god.
Which you're
He's
like,
turning
okay,
into a
hold on.
giant square.
I know you're like, okay, wait a minute. First, Elon's lying about being good at a video game. Secondly, he literally doesn't even understand how YouTube works. I guess if he's like, oh, these are his bosses, right?
Yeah, that's so weird. No, 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 Elon. That's not how it works.
No, no. This is a very common thing, especially for streamers to do who stream on like Twitch or another platform. Is someone else will clip out all their stuff and upload it to YouTube, and they'll split the revenue from that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then Elon replied under that. He said, "Here's me doing a world record Diablo AOZ clear." So he's like, "Oh, you call me a fake gamer? Well, here's me. Look at me being good at Diablo." It's like, okay. First of all, it's a different game, but okay. And then of course, Ian Miles Chong, who has to forever dick ride Elon Musk, has
Oh
to insert
yeah, he
himself in the
goes in.
conversation.
Oh, let me get a hold of your wang and fillet
Yes,
you
he's like,
immediately.
let me go down and glaze the Elon, forever. And Ian Miles Chong says, you shouldn't have to justify yourself to these people. But it's nice that you've got receipts to prove your gaming credentials.
Oh my
Oh
god.
God. That is he literally just dropped his pants and bent over and he's like, yes, Elon, stick it in me deep. Oh, don't prove yourself to these nerds. You're really the king of gaming, though. Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is just oh my god.
This is
I
sad.
hate Ian Miles Chong, but like to see him just this kind of brown nosing in
It's
public.
disgusting. It's
It is.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah.
You should retweet that interaction and be like, it's a good thing they allow pornography on Twitter. Otherwise,
Oh
this would be
yeah,
banned.
exactly.
And then Elon responds to the brown nosing saying, I'm on hundreds of streams on YouTube and Twitch playing live with the world's best players. No other way to say this. But while Asman is good at caustic commentary making fun of people, he is not good at video games. Shrug emoji.
Wow.
This is the nerdiest, most autistic cringe fucking interaction internet beef I've ever seen. Like, you're not good at video games. Why is a billionaire arguing with fucking people about whether he's good at video games on the internet? Just get me off this hell train, this hell ride that is life. Okay.
This is part of Elon's brand, though. This is even highlighted in the Walter Isaacson's book, which is the first place that I heard that he even played video games. So there's a whole section about how he will play video games with his employees on like Friday or something,
Mm-hmm.
and Elon just destroys them all. Like that's the narrative. Elon
Oh,
destroys all of his
interesting.
employees in video games. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
mean,
So this
this is a
like
part of his identity. Yeah, big
right.
part.
So this is some weird, like, I'm the big dick nerd here. I'm gonna be the top CEO, and then I'm gonna beat you in a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Nobody
Interesting.
Nobody, nobody stops to think. Well, maybe if I beat Elon, am I going to get fired? Is my job
Well, that's a
and
good
whatever,
point.
right?
That's a great point because
Like I thought of
normally,
it instantly. I'm like, okay, let's all let the boss win, right?
right? Is it really a brat? If Elon is this sensitive about playing, if he's so sensitive about being the top elite gamer, he's paying someone else to play a video game for him, and lying
Right.
about it, then obviously if you're one of his employees and you're playing him in whatever the fuck game they're playing, you're not going to beat him. What the hell? Of course you'd be like, oh, we got to let Elon win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
Unfortunate. Very
That's so
unfortunate.
pathetic. Oh, so okay. So not only did Elon leak Asmongold's DMs here, which don't even make him look bad, so it's so fucking weird. But
It
then,
makes Elon look bad. Are
yes,
you
it looks
kidding
Elon
me?
look terrible. He leaked the DM, and then the DM he leaks not even a bad thing. It's like, what? What are you fucking doing?
Well,
What?
and he's using it as evidence that he has a boss, which it doesn't prove that, guy.
No,
And the
no.
fact that you don't know that is weird and cringy.
This is so. I I don't have. I've lost my mental map of like how to characterize Elon in my brain. Is he smart? Is he stupid? Is he autistic? Is he a spurt? I don't even understand this behavior because before I was like, okay, I think when he would tweet the most incendiary, political, obviously fake news shit, it was like he knew it was not true. It was part of a like a not a grift. Well, I guess it would be a grift, but it was part of a tactic to try to ingratiate himself with the right because he's getting attacked by the left and the Democrats so much that he needs political allies. So he's
Yeah, he needs
basically just like,
cover.
yeah, he needs cover. So he's basically just kind
He
of
needs
doing
Ian
this.
Miles Chong rushing in there and sucking him off.
Right, exactly. But so that's what I assumed was going on. And then, but then you have the whole HB1 visa thing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, everyone has their, issues that maybe they get, very emotional about. Me, that's one of him. But then I see this and I'm like, this is retarded. Like, wait, maybe he just is stupid. What's happening here? I don't understand. Like, maybe you have a situation. Some people are very good at very specific things. Elon could be very good at, running specific types of businesses and tech businesses and very good in that. And maybe he just has no, maybe he's lost his social skills. I don't know. That does happen to people that are very successful and they're surrounded by people that suck up to them all the time.
Yeah, that could be it. It's yeah. It could be he's a social media addict, which I do think social
Yes.
media can become as perverse as like crack cocaine. So,
Well, that's what Sam Harris's charge is that Elon Musk is addicted to Twitter or X
right.
now, and that's kind of broke his brain. And I mean, I don't know. I was on the fence about these claims on Elon. Now I'm more on the side of, oh, maybe this is all true because this interaction is so crazy. And then on top of that, so after the H-1B visa stuff, obviously a lot of accounts that were arguing with Elon seemed like they lost their verification and they lost their monetization. And there's kind of this like, back and forth about, why they lost it, whether there was a legitimate reason or whether it was Elon just taking revenge. And the crazy thing is after he leaks this DM about Asmongold, Asmongold loses his Twitter verification,
Yeah, which is
which people are
super
like,
weird.
that's like, okay, did he get rid of himself or was it pulled by Elon for some sort of like, revenge just because he reacted to this video? Now, Asmongold does have his verification back.
Hmm.
So since he has it back, that kind of implies that to me, that implies that Asmongold didn't drop it himself, but that someone at X removed it and then they said, oh, this looks really bad, and they gave it back to him or something.
Wow.
So, and Asmongold so far, I believe, has only responded to the leak saying that the leak, leaking DMs is out of line, which obviously
Yeah.
is true. So,
It could Elon could have suck ups at Twitter that just work for him. So some suck up might have done it. Elon may not have done it directly.
Ian
So
Miles Chong did it. He has access.
well, look, no, a bunch of people at Twitter, I'm certain, are Elon suck ups, right?
Mm,
Obviously.
of
So
course, of course,
yeah.
yeah. And so, there was that whole controversy with that guy that sounds like Elon that they're saying was Elon, but I believe that was debunked. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
this is just this whole drama is so retarded. I can't even, Adam. It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
Well, I'm glad you laid it out so I didn't have to search a bunch of Twitter and dig into everything
Right.
myself, obviously.
Well, and it's funny because this also, this is all sort of a coincidence because it's all, we watched the Sam Harris conversation the other day and he talked about his interaction with Elon and Sam Harris actually, if you want to pull it up, he put out a Substack that went into more details about his problems with Elon Musk. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. And I'll, if when you bring it up, you just kind of skip to the numbered parts when he has the 1, 2, 3, where he kind of talks about how the relationship falls apart, which is interesting, especially in regards to this whole Asmongold drama. So Sam Harris says, "How did we fall out? Let this be a cautionary tale for any of Elon's friends who might be tempted to tell the great man something he doesn't want to hear." Number one, when the SARS, so it's about COVID, which is silly. When the SARS-CoV-2 virus first invaded our lives in March of 2020, Elon began tweeting in ways that I feared would harm his reputation. I also worried that his tweets might exacerbate the coming public health emergency. Italy had already fallen off a cliff, and Elon shared the following opinion with his tens of millions of fans: the coronavirus panic is dumb. As a concerned friend, I sent him a private text. So at first we have the situation where Elon seems to be, dismissive of COVID in the early days, and Sam Harris is like, "Oh my God, don't do it, Elon. You're
Well, I
gonna."
haven't read this, but I'm guessing the response is he thinks Sam Harris is super soy for even caring about his reputation.
Yes. Yeah.
Like framing it as this could do damage to your reputation is probably very offensive to Elon, because Elon is like, I care about truth. I don't care about my fucking the optics of my reputation.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, it's interesting you say this. So here's Sam's email or tweet or whatever it was. So you could see how I could understand why this would rub people the wrong way. He said, "Hey, brother," which I don't like when people say that, but okay. Maybe
Oh
they're
my
on that
God.
level. "I really think you need to walk back your coronavirus tweet. I know there's a way to parse it that makes sense. Panic is always dumb, but I fear that's not the way most people are reading it. Have an enormous platform, and much of the world looks to you as an authority of all things technical. Coronavirus is a very big deal, and if we don't get our act together, we're going to look like Italy very soon. If you want to turn some engineers loose on the problem, now would be a good time for a breakthrough in the production of ventilators."
I think Elon did step in with ventilators.
I believe he did. Yeah. I believe he did
Yeah.
at some point. Yeah. But I can understand like this email. Obviously, this text is going to rub people the wrong way. It is very like, you have a
Condescending.
big platform. Like, you need to not be a fucking piece of shit, which first of all, I mean, I agree with that concept of that. But obviously, that's, if you think you're in the right, that's going to rub you the wrong way.
You have a responsibility.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
a big responsibility. This is so leftist. Every leftist talks about this. You're a giant platform and your responsibility. You're
Well,
doing harm in the world.
it's, I get, yeah, it is cringe. It's weird because it's like true, but it's also cringe at the same
Yeah.
time.
Well, it's also, look, it's antithetical to Elon's idea of how the world works. So he doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, I
He
think the
he
way to frame
completely
this,
disagrees. He's like,
I
look, mistakes will be made. They'll be corrected along the way. It's better to work fast and make mistakes and to be all sensitive and do nothing.
right. I think the way to frame this, if you want to try to be convincing to Elon, would just to be like to question the truth element of it, not the
There you
size of
go.
the platform.
Exactly.
Be like,
Exactly.
this is not true? What's the truth claim here? Number two, Elon's response was, "I believe the first discordant note ever struck in our friendship." Well, the same Harris, what the writer here? The first discordant note, a single note of discord. Twang. Sam, Sam, you of all people should not be concerned about this.
Well, look, that says like, talk to me about truth, not reputation.
I guess that to me that's kind of ambiguous. I wouldn't even know that. I'd be like, what does he mean, Sam of all people? Is that what he means?
Because
That like reputation?
Sam's like chief ethos is truth seeking.
Right. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not reputation management. This is so perfect because I do think Sam's done a lot of stupid shit, so I don't know that he cares about his reputation either.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. He included a link to a page on the CDC website indicating that COVID was not even among the top 100 causes of death in the United States. This was a patently silly point to make in the first days of the pandemic. Well, that is true if he did that. We
Yeah.
continue exchanging texts for at least 2 hours. If I hadn't known that I was communicating with Elon Musk, I would have thought I was debating someone who lacked an understanding of basic scientific and mathematical concepts like exponential curves. Wow, look at that. Attacking his
Oof.
science creds. Number three, Elon and I didn't converge on a common view of epidemiology over the course of those 2 hours, but we hit upon a fun compromise. Okay, here's where it all happens, boys. Here's where the breakdown occurs. A wager.
Mm-hmm.
Elon bet me $1 million to be given to charity. Now, fuck that. Give me the money. $1 million to go to charity against a bottle of fancy tequila, $1,000, that we wouldn't see as many as 35,000 cases of COVID in the United States. Cases, not deaths. Okay, so this is obviously a terrible bet in retrospect, right?
Did Elon ever give the $1 million to charity?
Well, let's find
I'm
out. The terms,
assuming, yeah, I'm assuming Sam is the $1,000 tequila. So
yeah, Elon was betting $1 million of charity, and if he won, Sam Harris would give him $1,000 tequila.
that's so interesting because that is the asymmetry in the relationship right there.
The
It's
power
like
dynamic, yeah.
$1 million to me is $1,000 to you.
Right, right.
That's kind of interesting.
The terms of the bet. Well, also, I guess it'd be interesting because he's making it sound like Elon's the one who, I guess Elon's the one who sort of suggested this. So the
Right.
terms of the bet reflected was what, in his estimation, the near certainty, 1,000 to 1, that he was right, having already hard after having already heard credible estimates that there could be 1 million deaths from COVID in the U.S. over the next 12 to 18 months. These estimates proved fairly accurate. I thought the terms of the bet ridiculous and quite unfair to Elon. I offered to spot him 2 orders of magnitude. I was confident that we'd soon have 3.5 million cases of COVID in the US. Elon accused me of having lost my mind and insisted we stick with the ceiling of 35,000. So Sam Harris is like, listen, this bet's too crazy in my favor. Let me change the 35 to 3.5 million. Okay,
Yeah.
he's trying to give him better odds here.
Wow.
Number 4, we communicated sporadically by text over the next couple of weeks while the number of reported cases grew. Ominously, Elon dismissed the next batch of data reported by the CDC as merely presumptive, while confirmed case of COVID on his account remained elusive. Number 5, a few weeks later, when the CDC website finally reported 35,000 deaths from COVID in the US and 600,000 cases, I sent Elon the following text: is 35,000 deaths plus 600,000 cases greater than 35,000 cases?
This is look, it's just so stupid to even make this bet because you are locking Elon Musk into a position, and Elon Musk has like a giant platform. So this is just stupid on every psychological
Well, this would,
level.
yeah, but the bet is, it's a private bet. I don't think anyone knew about this.
Yeah, but still, he's going to be like, "Oh my god,
Yeah, but so what?
I'm not
Listen,
going to lose a bet to Sam
listen.
Harris."
Elon Musk made a bet. Okay.
Okay,
And
look, I don't know their
reneged
history. I
on
don't
it.
know.
He went back on it. He was a bitch about, if this is real. I mean, obviously Sam Harris could be lying, but I'm skeptical of that. And
He
he went
can't
back on it.
give the $1 million to charity without acknowledging what the bet was, and nobody wants this bet to come out. Like
Well, then
Sam
he shouldn't have made
Harris.
the bet.
Okay.
Well, don't make the bet. Wait, you listen. If you make a bet, listen. We made a bet. I lost the bet.
Yeah.
Okay, I paid
Yeah.
you. I paid you the monies, Adam. I say here. I
Well,
lost.
look, that's not true. You didn't pay me the money, so let's not
What are
talk
you
about
talking
that.
about?
You never paid me any money for the bet. What are you talking about?
Yes, I did. I gave you extra money when I gave you YouTube
You
money.
did. You never gave me extra money. We went through this
What are you
before,
talking
so I
about?
can't believe you're bringing this up on stream. But
What are you talking? Oh my god! Look at this guy. Listen to this guy. This text appears to have ended our friendship. Elon never responded, and it was not long before he began maligning me on Twitter for a variety of imaginary offenses. For my part, I eventually stopped complaining about the startling erosion of his integrity on my podcast without providing any detail about what had transpired between us. Wow. Look at that. Well, that is the sad tale of Sam Harris and Elon Musk.
yes,
Okay. So Elon's obviously burning his credibility these days. Okay. Let's watch the Pam Bondi clip. How about that? Oh, I should get them to watch together, huh? Oh, so I have the Pac-Man video here. Okay, so there was a content. You know, it's funny because I said the other day, I said I don't know if we're gonna watch any of this. I said if there's some clips that come out that are spicy, we'll check it out. I don't know if there's gonna be some spicy clips, and it turned out that there indeed were some spicy clips from the Pam Bondi hearing with our good friend Shifty Schiff, Adam Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does he have it up? Do you have it up?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Volume and everything.
Okay.
Amazing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president can commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon. So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no.
Listen, he was very close to saying, do you have the balls to say no to Donald Trump? But then he realized he was talking to a woman, and he's like, I don't want to get in trouble. But then he realized it was 2025. She could have balls. So he changed the last second. He held back.
And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a.
So I think that the question is fair, and I think her answer is also fair. Someone says, are you going to investigate Jack Smith? And she says, I got to see what the evidence is. I got to see what the facts of the case are, right? I don't know what's going on. I think it's a totally fair answer.
Summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case.
And sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have 7
lost faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Okay, so this question is a slightly different question. We've moved because he's obviously Schiff is, well, it's kind of funny. The underlying tone of this is because Adam Schiff is worried that she's going to go after him personally, right? That he's going to be investigated, for any of the January 6th stuff or anything, for going against Trump and any of this stuff. But so obviously you can't just like ask that. So it's better to ask like, oh, are you going to go after these other people, right? So that's kind of the undertone of this entire conversation, which is interesting to me. But so the question now has changed because he's trying to get a very specific answer from her. He wants her on record to say like he's not going to go after, Jack Smith or maybe himself or Liz Cheney or these other people. So he says, are you aware of any information currently as of right now that would mean that it would be acceptable for an investigation into Jack Smith? Which I think that's a fair question. I don't know if do you think, is that a fair question? I think it's a fair question to ask that.
What was the question?
Faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
I mean, it's, yeah, I guess maybe it's a fair question, but she's not going to answer it for political reasons, obviously.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. Because if she does end up having to investigate Jack Smith for some reason that she doesn't know of, Adam Schiff is going to make a big deal of this.
Well, so if she does end up investigating Jack Smith, can't she just say, yeah, at the time I said I didn't know then, but I also said I would look at the facts. I now, as the Attorney General, have access to way more information, way more facts, and now looking at new information, I've decided to investigate Jack Smith.
She could say that, obviously, but I mean, Adam Schiff could accuse her of having that information beforehand. Look, it's just, I think she's acting correctly. I think she's doing the right thing politically, not giving in to Adam Schiff. She came out looking like a total winner in this exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think later she even brings up the fact that Adam Schiff has been censured. So,
right. Yeah. Well, she's doing the right thing politically for the right, because she's going to want to be in a situation. She doesn't want to say no here because that will piss off people on the right. It'll piss off, it may even piss off Trump himself. And so, and it's going to make her look, even if she gives a very completely correct, true, safe answer, people might perceive it as weak. So it does make sense politically to kind of be vague about it, to sort of, not really answer the question.
No.
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question.
Brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm sitting here as a nominee.
just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
Are you aware of
horrible. Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple.
I think she did answer it right there.
He did kind of, yeah. Well, he missed it because he was too busy talking. Because she said, what I've seen on the news is horrible, but I don't know if he's committed a crime.
Right. So she's basically saying what she's seen on the news is investigatable. So
right. She's definitely signaling, at least here, that she does want to investigate Jack Smith.
Yes.
So
simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you.
Is that a hypothetical? That's not a hypothetical, right? That's weird.
Sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called,
also worried about Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
you know
called
what we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
California right now.
Oh my God, I love this woman.
Going like, okay.
Look, she's so obviously going to get confirmed. The hearing, I listened to the whole hearing and it was pretty uneventful except for this exchange. But I saw this exchange and the views on this exchange were off the charts. So
yes.
Look, I don't like Adam Schiff. He is my state senator. It's obvious to me. Adam Schiff is running for president. I will be completely surprised if he's not in the primary in 2028. This is just like typical showboating politician. Look, and obviously he's delusional. Look at this face. Do you think Americans will call this face their president of the United States? Hell no.
Like, no, I'm Adam
that's
Schiff
impossible.
Adam Schiff has no fucking shot at being president at all, even remotely.
Yeah. Look, and I do like Pam Bondi saying, look, you should be worried about the crime rates in California, which we should.
Right. I mean, it's a total whataboutism, but
yes.
Now,
you are aware
of the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires...
She never said that. Look, and she made this assertion to many of the other senators throughout the hearing that she would be able to say no to the president, obviously. But she's doing it in the politically astute way, in the fact that she's saying, look, the president has not asked me to do anything like this, and doing these things would be highly illegal. And I will refer to all of the ethics people before I charge anyone. So I don't want any appearance of impropriety in my organization. So look,
Right,
at a lot of the, I think she might even get some Democratic votes. So
yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I think she's going to get confirmed pretty easily. But so because she said that in other answers, because I didn't watch the whole thing, so I didn't hear if she gave that answer in another circumstance or another setting.
yeah.
That's like a better answer than this. I don't know if it's just because she's just, fighting with Adam Schiff here. That she gives the more vague political answer, like the vague non-answer situation.
Everyone's saying she's 60 years old too, which is, I'm like, what?
She looks
Yeah,
good.
did you know that?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
she looks pretty good for 60.
Wow,
If
crazy.
you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president.
This is like,
And so let me tell you the easy truth. The one thing that if you say, Donald Trump will not have you in the position, okay? It's a very easy truth.
look, this is just like a very strange situation, because the politics of this are just, I don't know, pretty weird for me.
Right. Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it.
I'm just asking you a simple
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any ongoing
to power.
investigation,
So let me ask you another.
like you did leaking your
let me ask
colleague
you,
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you.
So I do think the question he's asking is like, it's kind of silly. It's obviously a massively political question, because he's like, it's a very easy question. But again, if she says Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, I mean, he's only going to put people in positions of power that suck up to him enough to, to say that he didn't lose it, right? So it's not an easy question. But her answer, I think, is also kind of like, I think it's a bad answer. Like, I'm not going to play politics here. It's like, it is a fact question. I mean, it is sort of a political question. It is sort of a gotcha question, but it is a fact question. It is a question of objective fact here.
Okay. We all know why she can't say it. So
yeah, no, that's what I said. She can't, because then she's gonna piss off Trump. I don't know what a good answer would have been. I guess the best answer you could do is to just deflect to something else.
She
entirely.
says that Biden is the president of the United States. So
right.
But the claim that they want to make is that Trump won, but Biden stole the election. That is the claim. So
right. I think
I guess obviously saying that he's the president of the United States fits into that claim.
Right.
So.
I think the first part of her answer I think was bad, but I think the second part is good. I think that's what she should have done. Would just been like, I will look at all the facts for any cases they come in and determine things on an impartial, objective basis. Right?
She should come in and she should say, we have no idea who won the 2020 election because all of the cases were dismissed on standing.
There you are.
That's what she should say.
You're right. You're completely right. That would have been the home run right there. Okay.
Oh my God. That would put so much political pressure on all of the Republicans. Oh God.
I know.
Because they would be like, what? And Trump will be on the phone, fucking, that's right. What she said is the truth, motherfucker. You better vote for her.
Oh,
like
God.
the whole bipartisan vote would go completely out the window.
Right.
She'd be like.
To a different, simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question. If you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No,
Oh my God, this is the best exchange.
Yeah, what a okay,
This
what a
is the best
massive
exchange.
fuck up from Schiff here. Like, was there election fraud? She's like, actually, and he's like, wait a minute, I didn't mean to ask that question. I'm like, oh God,
Right.
what the fuck?
So we're
Schiff?
talking about Pennsylvania. Biden won Pennsylvania. There's always been claims that there was massive fraud in Pennsylvania. She evidently was Trump's attorney during this time, during the election time. So look, we all want to hear exactly what she saw in Pennsylvania, right? I want to know, Sitch. Do you want to know what she heard? Okay.
I'm dying to know.
Let's see. I'm dying to know too. Let's see.
I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no? Was there
I
or
can
was there
tell
not?
you what I saw when I went as an advocate
That's
to
not
the
my
campaign.
question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president.
So he totally realized that he fucked up by answering that question and just didn't let her answer.
Well, there was some case, I think, too, that was adjudicated in 2022 where they admitted Pennsylvania was in the wrong.
Mm-hmm. Was
So
that they wrongly passed they had that law on the books for the mail-in ballots that was against the Pennsylvania state constitution, or is that
That's it.
state?
Yeah, that's it.
Right. But then they said,
That's
well,
it.
the Republicans passed this law, and it benefited them, and it's too late to rescind it this election, so it doesn't go away until next election.
I'm not sure what the adjudication was.
That
So,
was the adjudication. If that's the state, that was the adjudication.
right.
So
Well, look, if the Republicans pass some law violating the Constitution, thinking that it would help them, and then it hurt them, they still broke the law. So
right.
President. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president.
wait. What happened to what you saw in Pennsylvania?
But we're never gonna find out.
I'm still waiting.
We're never gonna find out.
We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case.
so you
Let me
look at-
finish. On a case-by-case
Okay,
basis.
okay, good. Let
And
me-
I
let me-
abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President, I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
And
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am
Of
asked
course you
to
won't.
look
So
at.
will you advise the
Hey,
president?
can I
will
answer
you-
the question?
Well, my question
I would
is-
have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
Listen, I'm
hundreds
not
of
going to
cases on the first
mislead
day?
this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question.
He's such a dipshit. Because I mean, yeah, she'll have staff. Like she'll give it to her staff.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna be like, look, everyone, you got 6 hours to read all these and report back to me.
Right.
I mean, that's how it works. You personally reading everything? Look, she's not a one-man workforce.
You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
You were
another question.
censured by
It will
Congress,
also-
Senator, for
it will
comments just
also-
like this that
it
are
will
so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to
What are the reckless comments that he was censured for?
Schiff?
Yeah. She just made a claim that Schiff was censured for these kind of reckless comments.
preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have
I can't
difficulty?
believe this is even.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do you
you're
have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve?
Yeah, that wasn't a good response. She should say, I'm not going to destroy any evidence like the evidence Biden's Justice Department destroyed that was exonerated President Trump.
I
Like
think
that's what she should say.
Well, I think the accusation was that the Democrats in the House district, because remember we read that the other week. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. There was some concern that they destroyed or
Yeah, evidence
they
that
didn't
was on
back up
Trump's side. Yeah.
the interviews from the January 6th committee. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Kash Patel comes up so much in this hearing. And obviously, we're going to cover Kash Patel's hearing because it's
Right.
probably going to be giant fireworks. But Kash Patel evidently testified to the January 6th committee, and he's part of the testimony that never came to light. So I wonder
Right.
if they know. Obviously, evidence was destroyed because they destroyed my fucking interview, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a question.
Evidence that
It's,
the Department
it's
of
known that they didn't save these interviews. And then they say, well, we didn't have to save it under the rules. And then they say, well, no, you're supposed to save it. You're hiding it, right? So it's a sort of like the gamesmanship that, goes on with the rules of all this nonsense.
Well, the implication here by Schiff is that she is going to find a bunch of evidence that is damning of Donald Trump, which is just, I mean, ridiculous. They did,
Right.
if whatever they had, the best stuff they had, they trotted out at the January 6th hearing. So the idea that there's some secret evidence that's just completely damning of Donald Trump and that nobody knows about it is ridiculous. So, but he's implying that she would find that evidence that doesn't exist and destroy it
Right.
to save Donald Trump.
Yeah. No, I got to read though. I didn't read it because it was like 160 pages. Maybe I'll read it this weekend is, Jack Smith's final report where he complains about the charges being dropped against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
See if there's I'm assuming there's nothing new in there at all, but I'm going to look into because if there was something new, it would be everywhere. Everyone would be talking about it.
You're going to read the Jack Smith stuff? Is that
the Jack Smith report? Yeah.
No,
It's probably going to be boring.
I can't imagine, but so
Justice, why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I know that you are pleased.
Okay, so that's the fireworks from the
Right.
hearing. The rest of the hearing was pretty uneventful. Everyone seems to like her. A bunch of people said they're going to support her. A bunch of I think Democrats even said it's pretty obvious you're going to pass. So I think she's going to be in there no problem.
Yeah, well, they don't
did
need
try
a single Democrat to support her anyway. So.
Right, exactly. But I mean, it would be good if a couple Democrats actually joined so they could say it's bipartisan.
Right.
The thing that they really grilled her on was her support of Kash Patel. And she did say great things about Kash Patel.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess you didn't listen to the hearing.
No, I just saw this clip and a couple other clips.
Yeah. So, the Kash Patel is definitely going to be interesting. A lot of people were throwing shade at Kash Patel and trying to get Pam Bondi to weigh in. And she was just like, no way, Kash Patel's completely qualified and we need a patriot like Kash Patel involved. They brought up his enemies list.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like super chapped about the enemies list. But guess who's on that enemies list? Adam Schiff, right?
Yes.
So Adam Schiff is. Well, is it the same people in this hearing that are advising on Kash Patel? I'm not sure. God, I hope Adam Schiff is in the Kash Patel hearing. No, it's got to be because this is advise and consent for the Department of Justice, right? Attorney General.
I guess, yeah.
The FBI is under Department of Justice. FBI is like the cops for the Department of Justice. Like, obviously, your local district attorney works with law enforcement. Law enforcement is a wing of your local prosecutors. So, yeah, so that makes sense. So, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel will be working together. So, I actually learned that in the Kash Patel book. That FBI is under DOJ.
So I was trying to find what, because we never got to hear what did she see in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, the article I found talking about it, she isn't talking anything about that case that the mail-in ballots being not state constitutional. But I guess that makes sense because that case was in 2022, so it was after, and she was talking. She was involved in 2020. She was claiming that there was all sorts of like dead people voting and stuff like that.
Oh, is that her claim?
That was her claim. I don't know if any of it was ever. I don't believe any of that was ever proven or shown to be true. But she was claiming that dead people were voting.
Dead people can't vote. She should know better than that.
What do you mean? They just contact like a medium, right? They tell them who they want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Be a great way to do it.
Okay. Let me read a super, and then you want to watch that Sagar and Crystal debate
Yes, let's
about
do that.
DEI involvement with the fire department. It's kind of interesting. The LA fires. Okay. Riot Wolf for $2 says Elon's Elden Ring build was absolute garbage. Wow. Look at that.
Wow. Look
Terrible.
at the game. The real gamers are calling
Right.
out.
Well, I mean, at least that gives, credibility that it was like his, right? That it was that he made it himself.
Oh my God. How the mighty have fallen.
Right, right.
This one is super sad. Oh my God. I can't believe we lost David Lynch today.
What? Ukola Discipline Equals Freedom for 26 months says rip David Lynch. David Lynch died today?
Yeah.
Wow. He wasn't that old. Oh, he was 78. Okay. He looked pretty good.
78. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look. A great filmmaker. A true artiste.
He had, what is this? I don't know how to say this word. Emphysema? Oh, he had emphysema. I do know how to say that.
Emphysema?
I've never, you know what? I've heard emphysema. I've never seen it like spelled out. So like my brain didn't like understand what I was looking at. He had emphysema. Wow, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Right.
Okay. That's sad. Antelope for $5 says, would you be willing to host a hypothetical debate between What If Alt Hist and Monsieur Z, assuming both parties are willing?
I
guess,
not sure.
I mean, I don't know who Monsieur Z is.
If this is
I'm
going to be
willing.
some white nationalist debate, I'm not sure I want to host some white nationalist debate. So
Well,
just
I
because I'm
mean,
extremely biased against white nationalists. So
okay,
I don't
you're
think
right.
I'm the right person to host that debate.
If that's what it's about, I don't know anything about Monsieur Z. I have no clue what
Let the Crucible host that debate.
Listen, yeah, if it's about, I don't want to besmirch anyone because I don't know who Monsieur Z is at all. I've never seen a single one of his videos. I don't know what the debate would be about.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah,
right.
I don't know that he's a white nationalist, or I know nothing about his content. So for all I know, they want to debate the validity of psychedelics. So,
yes, or alternative history or something. I mean, I'm looking at his channel. I don't see anything white nationalist, so I don't think that's what the debate would be about. But so yeah, I mean, I'm down to moderate a debate. I think Adam would be down to, well, maybe Adam's not, but I would be willing to host the debate.
Yeah.
Sure. If they want, I'd be down. Oh, did you see Monsieur and you're thinking it's like JF because of the French?
Well, I didn't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's funny.
Like he wanted, What If Alt Hist wanted to debate Nick Fuentes?
That's right. So, yeah, he did. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if he's like in that camp. So
Caleb from $5 says, my theory is Elon wants to be seen as an elite gamer because number one, elite gamers are very active online, and two, Peter Thiel has a 2,100 ELO in chess, and Elon is jelly. Oh, I don't even know what that. I don't know how the chess rankings work. Is that good?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Peter Thiel is besting Elon Musk, and he wants to compete. That makes sense.
So it says standard chess rank starts at 1,000. Expert level is 2,000 to 2,199. So that would put teal in the expert level, and then master level is 2,200 to 2,399. So it would put him in the expert level. It says 5% of chess players reach expert level, so it'd be pretty high. Okay. I mean, but I feel like when someone is like, "Oh, I am very high rank in chess," like there's like some sort of like prestige and elitism to that. If you're like, "I have, rank 7 in Path of Exile hardcore mode," like is I don't feel like that hits the same way as saying you're like, an expert chess player. Feels a little
Right.
different. Ryan Wolf for $5 says, for a non-political stream, Sitch and JMac should discuss the current WoW drama with streamers. Also praise Space King. I would be down. I don't know what the current WoW drama is, but I like WoW and I like drama.
Yes. And we love JMac, obviously. So
Of course. The Brother Amble for $5 says there's plenty of reasons to dislike email, but being a 50-year-old fake gamer is something that should literally make you consider wrong.
Oh my God. So true.
It's funny. This guy for $2 says Elon's got everyone is bought and paid for mentality. Definitely feels like it.
That sucks. I don't like that mentality.
Tommy Simonson for 50 Donkey Kong dollars says Asmon's editors clip his Twitch stream for YouTube and are goated trolls, by the way, including trolling Asmond. Wow, look at that. Look at this. Sammy G for 33 months of the Order of Enlightened.
Look at this.
Look at that. She's giving me a hard time. She says, Sitch, quote, Elon should do more productive things than playing video games. Also, Sitch plays video games into the late night instead of editing a video for his main channel. 2025 is the year PSA Sitch uploads a new video. Wow. Look at this. Sammy coming for me. Sammy coming for me.
I think I was giving you a little bit of a hard time like this. I'm on Sammy G's side here.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is tough. And I mean, as someone who has spent a lot of time writing and look, doing a scripted video is writing. You got to sit down in front of that blank page. Oh, fuck. That's a lot of work. So,
right. The writing of the video for me isn't the issue. The editing takes forever. But
so much of it is, well, why don't you just pay an editor? Why don't you get an editor? Like, problem solved.
I'd have to find someone I trust.
The video will obviously make enough money to pay for the editor.
Right.
So, yeah.
And first of all, I don't want to hear anything from Sammy considering how much time she's invested in Pokemon Go and Animal Crossing. Okay.
Oh, really? She's got a video game addiction too.
I'm just saying, I don't want to hear it. Okay. But yeah, listen, there is a video that when the new Final Fantasy game comes out, there's like a video I've been really working around in my brain for a long time. I want to make about Final Fantasy VII when I have access to the next game.
Okay, sweet.
Moondoggy for $5 says this is League of Legends comparing ranks level of autism.
True.
That's true. Mike Johnson for $2 says, how is Elon a tech genius and a boomer? I know it's weird. It is weird, right? Ipicarium for 16 months, thank you so much, says, I am a very pro-immigration to USA, but do you guys think it's acceptable for the European nations to keep their indigenous populations in the majority? So my position, which has always been my position, is that I think nations have a right to protect their culture, their cultural identity, and their cultural practices. And obviously, in an effort to protect your cultural practices, you have to A, limit the number of immigration from other countries that have different cultures than you, and B, if you do have immigration, I think you do need to make steps to heavily promote assimilation and actually actively sort of try to disrupt, the effect that happens a lot of times is immigration, it happens in the US too, is that you have like pockets of, immigrants will all go to the same place essentially and kind of manifest in a pocket somewhere. And it kind of hampers a lot of assimilation, right? You can go to a specific place and, maybe no one even speaks the native language because the whole area is like, filled with a specific group of people. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that whatsoever. So I think countries should make an active effort to say, okay, yeah, we can have immigration, but we're going to like break up these sorts of pockets. We're going to heavily push for assimilation not do any of this, like we're going to have street signs in other languages or put other languages on, government documents. Like you need to learn whatever the native language is. And I think that's totally fair and justifiable. This always comes up in the context of America or Europe. And, there's sort of this woke response to like, how dare you? Because it's like looked at through like a racial lens, which I don't think it should be. They say, how dare someone who's not white have to assimilate to a white culture when it has nothing to do with that. It's like, I think it would be very psychotic if I moved to Japan and was like, okay, I'm not going to learn Japanese. I'm going to demand, that everyone become more Americanized in Japan. I'm not going to, adapt to the cultures of Japan. It's like, no, if you're going to move to a country, you should adapt to the cultures of that country and you should want to be a part of that nation. I think that's the mentality you have to have. If you don't have that mentality, I don't think you should be allowed in the country or allowed to stay in the country.
I think it's perfectly acceptable.
JMac for $50, thank you so much, says, it's always important to remember money can buy you a lot, but it can't buy you a thick skin.
True.
I guess that's true. Also, every gamer knows we don't respect pay-to-win accomplishments. No one looks at a $20 store amount the same as the time lost Proto Drake. That is true.
Oh, yes. That ugly mount, right?
Yeah, the time. Oh, my God. The time lost Proto Drake, that was horrific. I spent time looking for that fucking thing. There was this mount in World of Warcraft that was like you could get a version of it that was red that every fucking person and their mother had. And then there's like a yellow version that you could get that was super rare. And it was like, it would spawn like once every 12 hours or something or less, or once every 24 hours. And it would fly around these random locations and like not random locations. There's like a flight path and in the map. And you would like, and I spent time doing this. I never fucking found the motherfucking thing, but because people would do is they'd like camp out. They try to find like right when the spawn, they try to figure out right when the spawn time was or right when the server reset or something. And they'd fly around the flight path looking for this fucking mount to try to find it. And it was like this big, huge thing. I never found it, but it was pretty crazy. It's pretty terrible. Sketch for Jar says Sitch needs a video editor. DM inbound soon.
Look, you did edited videos with CT for a while. I don't understand.
That's right.
Like it's in the realm of possibilities. So.
That's true.
You do the thinky writing the script part and the vocal.
Right.
And run with it. Anyway, people would love to see videos from you. So someone in the comments yesterday was like, your new year's resolution, Adam, should be to make Sitch make more videos. Main channel videos. That's what everyone wants. So
right. I was gonna be listen, I'm gonna do this one, and maybe that will get me excited. Okay. Get me all my juices flowing. I gotta air my grievances about Cloud Strife. Okay. So let's watch this. This is Crystal and Sagar debate DEI and climate change in the LA fire situation.
Ooh.
They're funded, but in general, like that's kind of how I see the battle lines here being drawn. Is that it's from the left, it's just climate.
Well, because
it's almost if there's.
I mean, but that's
but there's something that can be done about
this. Sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
which is we live in a place where we can have more water.
A lot of people
the
on the left are the ones
who
were raising the problems with the fire department being underfunded and the budget being cut. But again, no city is going to be able to handle, no state is going to be able to handle this on its own. In fact, I mean, California's probably done more to try to mitigate climate change. And even as a large economy, like, it has to be a collective response. And so, I don't really agree with your assessment of the polling in terms of people's desire to take action in this regard. But you also have to remember that there's been like a, 50-year cover-up of the, the reality of climate change is ongoing. That cover-up is ongoing.
I just said it all. Sagar's, yeah.
You like that?
Yeah. Look, no, I completely disagree with her. Obviously, I don't think there's been a cover-up, but I have the Bjorn Longberg position where climate change is real. Obviously, it's man-made. It's happening. we need to mitigate it. Like we're already past the point of no return that a lot of the left focused on. Oh, if we pass this point, it's going to be hell on earth, right? He's basically saying, well, look, we've passed that point, and now it's time to start dealing with the realities of how we can afford to mitigate the problem. So, and I do think a big problem and a big problem that's being highlighted with the California wildfires is that the left just wants to focus on doing something about climate change, not passing the point of no return that we've already passed. Like they're monomaniacally focused on that. And a lot of people are saying, okay, we need to actually deal with the situation as it is now instead of playing politics with climate change over and over and over again. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if there's been a cover up, because when you say cover up, that implies obviously that like, and this is what she says this, but like the oil companies, they all knew that climate change was real, but then they intentionally lied to the public to cover it up, right? That's what the cover up.
The cover up happened 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
That's what she's talking about, I guess. She's talking about that. But where I disagree with Sagar when he responds to this is that he says, well, everyone knows about climate change. It's like, yeah, but not everyone knows about the concept of climate change, but there's not agreement on the concept of climate change. There's definitely a massive disagreement about what exactly climate change looks like, what the effects of it are, who's causing it, is it happening, what extent is it happening? Like that's all still like heavily debated. So I don't think that climate change had an impact on the fires at all, like really very much at all. But I don't think you can just like hand wave away and say, well, there is, like, everyone knows about it. It's like, no, it's still a heavily contested issue.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of very wealthy people who are quite interested in maintaining a status quo that benefits them and are just hoping they can hire enough private
I don't think
firefighters to
cover-up
mitigate
stuff
the damage
stands anymore. I mean, the truth is, everybody. No.
Well,
people know. The truth is, no, because the proposition is what? Oh, we need an all-electric future. We need to get rid of fossil fuels. This is bullshit. It's just not going to happen.
It's not bullshit.
No, people are not going to. People, first of all, don't want to do that. People are not going to do that. It's not reality in terms of the way it would happen.
But here's the
only
other
way
thing,
it would is some sort of Manhattan Project level, which again is not going to happen.
That's the reason why people on the right, rather than acknowledging that the climate change has fueled.
Oh my God, the yawn is great. He totally yawns as she's talking, which is just. I don't know.
I don't think it was. I think it was not intentional.
Right, but it is funny.
Yeah.
These extreme catastrophes, which could help to mount a public campaign to collectively try to address the problem, as we also do, because we've already arrived. Last year was the hottest year on record. The last decade have been the hottest 10 years on record. We're already past 1.5 degrees Celsius increase from pre-industrial times. So we've already arrived here. So you're right. There needs to be massive investment in mitigation. But rather than doing that, the focus is on these, what happened with the fire hydrants, or, oh, it's DEI. Look, they've got a woman fire chief. That's really the problem here. And so there is a massive distraction campaign to keep people from actually grappling with the underlying causes here that are leading not just to this particular situation, but also, help fuel the devastating hurricanes that flooded and, were a total disaster for.
So she admits that we're already past the point of no return and that we need to focus on mitigation. But then she still wants to blame climate change instead of the fact that nobody did focus on mitigation, which we should have been doing. So it just seems like ridiculous to me. And this is, look, the writings of Born Longberg are great because he goes into all the proposals on the left and just completely looks at them from an economic perspective. And they're just like, he's like, these are not realistic. Like, these are not proposals that anyone can afford, right? You've got to look at the cost benefit analysis. And then he also makes proposals that are affordable. So I don't understand why people aren't going, like a lot of the people on the left, their political strategy is to just debunk Born Longberg and call him like a climate denialist when he is not denying climate. Instead of embracing his ideas and saying, look, these are things that we should do, they're married, wedded to these policies that are just completely crazy, like totally unaffordable, totally going to bankrupt the economy, totally going to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. It's garbage. And I can't believe we're having this dialogue about climate change still. It's so ridiculous.
Well, I think when you have and I understand why, like it makes sense to look at it from the economic lens, but whenever you have something that's like people perceive as a moral issue or people perceive as an existential threat issue, and you start talking about it in terms of like economics, the people on one side of the issue, like they just go batshit crazy. They like lose their
Yeah, of
mind on it.
course.
And it's like, so like the left, when they hear Born Lomberg or other people talk about climate change and they talk about how to mitigate it in some way that economically makes sense, they'll get crazed because it's like, and I understand where they're coming from, is that the idea is like, oh, if this is some existential threat that's going to destroy the entire world, why are you counting pennies, right? Why are you counting coppers? It doesn't make sense to do that in that scenario if, the most horrible possible things are correct or not. It's because it's the same thing you see, like this is what kind of happens with the immigration issue, is that, what the left says, or was the left and the center says like, oh, we need immigrants because, otherwise it's going to cause all these economic problems in the country. And then the right starts filming them out. It's like, this isn't about economics. Money is important. We have to preserve, the spirit of the nation, the unity of the nation, the culture of the nation. We have to protect the American worker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So even though it makes perfect sense, obviously, because the economy is very important, and unless it is like the volcano of Pompeii is erupting and we're all about to die, if you basically destroy your entire economy to try to achieve some kind of goal,
Exactly.
it's like, okay, like it's kind of like we saved the city, Patrick, and it's like the city's on fire, right? It's like, okay, good job, maybe, I guess, question mark. And so you do need to consider, these economic factors when you have these conversations.
Well, you're exactly right that it does enrage their moral intuitions about this. Look, but I do think climate change is a lot of times just an excuse for people on the left to call people on the right anti-science. Like, I really think that's what's going on.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an excuse. I think they believe it. I don't think there's like a level of grifting involved. I think, they watch all this commentary on it, and a lot of the mainstream commentary is very one-sided in the climate change conversation. And so they say, oh, well, this is what is true, right? This is what all the information is telling me. It's all one direction, right?
Well, look, if there are people on the right that are climate denialists, and there are people on the right that believe in climate change, think the solutions that the left are posing are unaffordable, but they also have solutions that are affordable. Why is the left focused on the climate denialist and not the people that they can work with? Like, let's get some fucking nuclear going. Like, there's a lot of different places where there could be consensus.
Right. Well, I think,
but
I mean,
they're
the conversation,
politicizing it.
right? The conversation on nuclear does seem to have finally been changing. It took a while.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
I think it is finally starting to shift. So, and they actually talk about that in this conversation.
Okay,
and Sager,
good.
Brings up about how, nuclear is like good and that's what we need. But whenever people try to build nuclear plants, all the people say, they all become NIMBYs. They say, don't build it near me, because everyone still has that sort of, all the nuclear meltdown fears, kind of blasted in their mind from the last 50 years of Hollywood content. And also, real world disasters like Fukushima and stuff. But
obviously, it's terrible, because as soon as some idea gets politicized, then the working together left and right just becomes impossible, because it becomes a political football used to gain power instead of actually solve the problem. And climate change is a perfect example of that. So
yeah, no, 100%. And actually another good example of that is, right now with the whole, trying to get a peace deal between Israel and, Hamas going on. And I was kind of reading some articles about it, and it looked like that the Biden administration and the Trump administration were kind of working together in a very good way, because the Biden administration was basically like, well, even though Trump's not president, he's going to be president. And so we should have some of his people, be, in the meetings and the deal rooms with us, so that, they'll, like, when we transition, it'll be a smooth transition.
That's a good idea.
Right. And then so this deal kind of comes to fruition, at the end of Biden's term, and everyone sort of, it becomes heavily politicized. I didn't go through the timeline. I don't know like who started it first, but it's become heavily politicized about now, both sides saying, "Oh, I did the deal," and the other person
They want
wasn't
to take
involved.
credit. Yeah.
Right. As opposed to, which I think is very unfortunate, as opposed to saying like, no, no, like we actually
We
work
work together.
here.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right.
That'd be so good for the country.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
Western North Carolina and other regions that have made Florida effectively uninsurable. Like all of these things fit together, but instead it's DEI, it's wokeism, it's the fire department getting cut, whatever. When the bigger picture here is quite clear.
But here's the problem: is that by denying the fact that there's these articles from the LA Times where like the LAFD is too white. Seems like a bit of an issue. It seems like a pure competence problem for me. I don't care what color or what gender.
That lady seemed pretty competent to me.
What's up?
That lady who's running the fire department seems pretty competent.
I'm not talking about her specifically. I'm talking about the fact that at a time in 2021, there literally were articles about DEI in the LA Fire Department. I think that's a problem. I think competency itself is the core for what all functions of life-saving organizations should be. I mean, I'm not going to get into specifically parsing like why are all these lesbians in the fire department, which appears to be like a vogue thing online. Instead, I would say, look, I don't care who you are. Can you do the job? Are we making sure the standards are there? And so that is, in my opinion, the problem is that nothing has ever comes to mitigation. And nothing
what
ever
evidence
even
do you
looks
have that any of them are not competent?
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying a culture around ensuring that we have more black or lesbian firefighters does not seem to me to comport with a culture of competency itself.
You have no evidence.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Go do a systematic study?
Yeah,
I mean,
yes, I expect there to be evidence if you make a claim.
Okay, then what evidence do you have that a pure white fire department can't do the best job? I mean, that's what I'm saying. DEI itself is a nonsensical thing that prioritizes equity for the sake of itself.
It's such a distraction, though. Like,
why is it a distraction?
How? Okay.
Yeah.
You think that if you had a man in charge of the fire department, they could have stopped the fires? Like, you have no evidence for that. You just assume that because it's a woman,
no, I didn't say
she's
that.
not good at the job, or because she's a lesbian, she's not good at the job.
What I'm saying is that there has been a priority.
Such a distraction from the core problem here, which is that you have a 1,200-year drought.
Look, it's funny that they're both. She's saying blaming DEI as a distraction, and he's saying DEI is a distraction from their mission. Like both understand DEI is a fucking distraction.
Yeah, well, it is unfortunate because obviously, like, it's totally fair, obviously, for her to be like, okay, is there evidence for this claim? And Sagar even said this. I think he said it here, and I think I've heard him say in other clips. It is like people rush to judgment to say, oh my God, DI is why the fires are running rampant in California. And in terms of the specifics, it's like, okay, we actually don't know, whether the people that were running the fire department or the mayor were specifically hired for DI reasons. Obviously, people suspect, the mayor was elected, but the fire people, because they're like, she's lesbian, and people say, oh, oh my God, must be a DI thing. And so it is. I do think it's really stupid for people to be like DI, DI, DI. It comes off as like really bigoted because you don't actually know what the facts are. So I think it's totally fair to ask for evidence. But Sagar is 100% correct too, which is that, and we've talked about this, if you have a culture or a society or a system that says, okay, we're not going to select people based on merit, we're going to select people based on filling out specific, categories of identity, then obviously just by that system, you're going to not be trying to get the best people to fit the role. You're going to be getting people to check off boxes. And so I think it's totally fair to say, yeah, we don't know specifically if, DI was, if this was a man or something, like there was some man up for the job and it got passed down because of DI reasons. We don't know that. Or I never heard of that reporting. But it's also completely fair to say this culture of DI could have definitely contributed to making everyone involved be incompetent because it's a toxic system that's going to produce bad results. And it's kind of funny because, when it comes to the systemic racism claims, Crystal and a lot of people on the left would very much jump on the whole, oh my God, there's all this systemic racism because look at the results that are being produced. I don't need to have evidence to show that anyone acted in a racist faction, but the results show that it's racism. They're totally on board with that. But then when it comes to the DEI thing, suddenly they take the exact opposite stance. They're like, well, wait a minute, I need very specific evidence to see if this is actually true. I can't imagine that this system is producing some kind of bad result.
You have the temperature, average temperature in Calvert is 5 degrees hotter. The Santa Ana winds are nothing new. The reason it is so devastating are because of those two factors. And that has nothing to do whether there's a black person or a lesbian or a white lady or a white dude at the head of the fire department. Nothing to do with that.
What I am saying is that it is clear there was a culture in the state of California and in the LA Fire Department specifically to look at quote unquote equity over the last 3 to 4 year period. Do I think on average, across all organizations, corporate, fire department, police, military, that culture competes with competency? Absolutely. Yes, I do. I am not personally indicting any of the people who are at the top of this or looking at their appearance and immediately making a judgment. I am saying, through both experience, through observation, that DEI itself is something that is generally the enemy of competence. It is on the people who are going to racially discriminate against others to prove that racial discrimination or sexual discrimination is better for competency, which is the core function.
Problem here?
That's not what I'm talking about, though. But I'm saying,
but why focus on it then if it's not that important?
Because it obviously is important.
What is the number one factor here causing these fires in your
What is the number one factor
that led to the devastation of these
drought
fires?
Conditions and wind, of course. Okay,
so let's talk about it.
Huh?
Then
we just did a whole thing about it.
Dodge, climate change, whatever. Why are these lefties?
The question, though, is how much damage could have been mitigated by proper preparation?
Right.
Like, obviously, we know what caused it. We like, shit happens and causes fires all the time. So, like, just the fact that they ran out of water. I mean, obviously, that's a tangible thing that could have saved multiple homes. Like, they're acting like that makes no difference whatsoever.
Right. Well, yeah, the water conversation, also the clearing, of the trees and brush.
Yeah, the brush, exactly.
And all that stuff, was, I mean, it's unfortunate because this is so politicized, it is probably going to be difficult to get a direct answer on any of this stuff. Because obviously, people on the left are going to be more inclined. I mean, it might come out because there are definitely a lot of people on the left locally who are like super fucking pissed about this. So maybe it'll come out. But there is sort of this like, rush to because it becomes heavily politicized, this rush to defend to say, oh, it was an unavoidable thing, which I don't know, maybe it was, or this was completely avoidable, or maybe it wasn't avoidable, but it could have definitely been mitigated in a much greater extent to lessen the damage if the water situation had been better, if the ground brush coverage clear had been much better.
Well, and if the response time could have been quicker. Now they're saying there was a 911 call when the Palisades fire began, and it took them 45 minutes to respond.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, in the conditions that we're in, like we know there's going to be 100-mile-an-hour winds. We know it's a drought condition. Why the fuck is it taking 45 minutes to respond? Like, firefighters should be poised and ready. Everyone was talking for days before this happened about how we need to be on fire watch, right? You get a 911 call for the fire starting, and it looks like maybe Southern California Edison started. It was like an electrical thing. And you take 45 minutes. Like, if they would have responded in 5 minutes, maybe the fire never happens.
Yeah, to me, that's the most damning thing I've heard so far, because it's like this to me would be very damning to the level of competence of these people. Is okay, did they have a plan? Did both the mayor and the fire chief have a plan where they're like, okay, we know that these wind conditions are coming, like it wasn't a surprise. So we're all going to we have some kind of alert system for the fire department where you say, okay, we're in like a high alert status. So we have to be, have to have all hands on deck. Everyone has to be super prepped just in case something happens, right? It's the same way that a state prepares when they know a hurricane's coming. You get all this, you make sure all the gas stations are filled. You make sure that you have a bunch of like people that are going to fix the electric lines. You have them all ready to go. So like as soon as right when it's over, you can just rush in and so if they don't have a situation set up like that, that would be massive evidence that these people are horribly fucking incompetent and should all be fired and, completely blamed for the situation.
Supposedly there is also some elite task force of firefighters that the mayor did not even engage. did not even fucking engage.
Really?
Yes. Like the levels of incompetence that we're talking about here, it's mind boggling. And then insult to injury for a bunch of people to be blaming this on climate change. People lost their homes. That's like a giant punch in the face. The authorities let them down, and just to throw up your hands and say, oh, it's climate change, nothing could be done.
Right.
Just fuck you. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck you. And then to make it like a political thing. Just this is my, oh, it just gets under my skin so much that people keep talking about climate change when, you know, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of firefighters deployed, standing around with their hands in their pockets because they're literally out of water. And then the reservoir that feeds those fire hydrants has been empty for almost a year because of a $130,000 repair to the cover, right? The person in charge of getting that done makes $750,000 a year, right? So they're obviously dealing with like $1 billion budget. They can't squeeze out $130,000 to fix the thing and do it in 10 days.
No, it's crazy.
Look, it's just, oh man.
And also, you know, I saw that there's these articles that were saying that like some rich people were hiring private firefighters that were actually did protect their property. And to me, that's like insane because like, holy shit, like, is this literally just a manpower situation that they just don't have the manpower or I mean, if you could just have like a bunch of private, you know, firefighters, there's more people doing this and they would actually protect way more property, then obviously this is a massive like mismanagement, you know, city state fuck up.
Look, and it's hilarious because it's the left that is always making the case for government. Oh, and they bitch and moan about the right saying government is incompetent, government is incompetent. They should be the ones. What do they think? They're responsible for government incompetence. Like if you want to make that argument that government's useful, you have to be the ones that are making all of the right calls, doing all of the right things, being prepared. None of that is taking place. Look, a bunch of the fire to the water thing, a bunch of the firefighters said they have water trucks, they have water tenders, and they could have brought water tenders in had they known that the hydrants were going to run dry. So that's even that's even a management issue as well.
Yeah, it's totally batshit crazy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It definitely seems to me to be. I'm way more on the side that this is going to be shown to be a massive management fuck up and that these people were definitely responsible for it. And it's worse because, like, I know I'm guessing, I don't know if actually, but I'm guessing that Los Angeles, you know, in this area is one of the richest areas in the country. You have all these celebrities' homes that got burned up. I'm assuming that there's a massive amount of money that they pay in taxes. Not everyone in the area pays in taxes. And this, like, oh, what the fuck are we paying for?
We are a month away from the Oscars, and you're going to have all of those celebrities casting all of these incompetent politicians as heroes. They're going to be blaming climate change. They're going to completely run with this fucking narrative because, I mean, this is like their third home. Let's be honest. They're not experiencing the same. Like, there are plenty of people who this is, you know, obviously their only home and probably their most valuable asset in the world, and they lost it. But the people who are going to take the stage at the Oscars, oh God, it's going to destroy any bit of empathy that the country has for Southern California. And I'm just going to watch it happen. Look, I'm predicting it now. We'll cover the Oscars when it happens, but I foresee like a huge asteroid headed towards us in the Oscar acceptance speeches. So yeah, all the things that I'm telling you now, they're totally going to ignore. Yes,
probably.
Yeah.
So obsessed with climate change.
Well, because
it's the number one thing driving this devastation, driving the Western North Carolina devastation. That is not true.
No,
that is just simply not true. Go look at how popular.
We can't do anything because of climate change, guys. Fuck. It's all about we got to get a climate bill passed. Otherwise, firefighters can't. We can't hire more firefighters.
Yeah.
the Paris Climate Accords were.
Well, when
go
Trump
look
pulled
at how
out of it, I
popular
don't remember it being
investments
some
in
big
green.
problem.
Go look at how popular investments in green energy are. But the thing is, Sagar, too, that you act like public opinion is just this static thing that just sits there and is what it is, versus something that is malleable and shapeable, and that people change their mind based on, I don't know, their home being destroyed by a climate-fueled catastrophe, whether they're here.
Look, that's oh my God.
I know.
That's what chaps me so much. They're like using this. Look, you lost your home. Don't you believe climate change is real now? These people. Oh God.
Well, listen, to be fair to Crystal, I don't think she's lying. I think she believes it. She honestly believes climate change causes this. That's the ideology at play. I don't believe it, but I think she's being honest in her belief here. Just wrong.
She believes that climate change is responsible for those people losing their homes. But there are definitely people who their homes could have been saved if they actually had water. So it's like a management thing. Yeah.
Of course.
I just,
or in Western North.
look at this California. All those people do believe in climate change. Okay. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be prepared for it. Climate change is not a get out of jail free card for management incompetence.
Carolina. So yeah, I, as someone who analyzes these situations, of course I'm going to focus on the number one factor that is causing these absolute cataclysms here and around the world, and really is going to contribute to destabilizing the entire globe.
So the reason why I talk about it is I think that the way it codes, and this is what many people who talk about it are not able to do, is they are unable to communicate this in a manner which does not tell American citizens that their lives are not going to be significantly curtailed, which I think the true reality of most of this discussion is, oh, we have to get rid of cars that have too much emissions. We have to significantly curtail the way that we consume goods. We have to reduce our quote unquote carbon footprint, which means what? Which means that the price of all this stuff is going to go up. Consumption itself is go down. I don't even necessarily think that's a bad thing per se. It's going to be tough in a hyper individualistic and consumer capitalist society, which is the United States. Most of the way that this stuff is communicated is usually you're the problem, our whole society is the issue, or some imaginary wealth tax of 50% is going to change everything. It's just not.
The bulk of the emissions are from the giant corporations and the wealthy. And by the way, what is going to increasingly fuel carbon emissions is this race for AI development, which is incredibly resource intensive, which we're having no conversation and debate about. But the reality is we have the technology.
We should just not pursue AI so that we can be carbon neutral and just let China develop it, right, Sitch? That's the thing to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna
we'll
be
save
real
the
nice
globe.
with it, I bet.
We'll save the globe for China. So when they shut down our entire power grid and all of our all of our water delivery systems, we'll be fine.
I saw this insane level of propaganda that was making the rounds on X about how Tiananmen Square was not really a big deal and no one died and the West is lying about it. And I was like, holy shit. Like,
I know. Yes.
For real, like this is the level of the Chinese discourse we're at now, the propaganda.
Look, all these TikTok influencers are useful idiots as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know why we didn't cut them off 5 years ago. Like, it's ridiculous.
I know.
So fucking
it's crazy.
Horrible. Yes.
You be able to do this. It just requires collective, large scale, federal government led collective action.
Yeah, but significantly changing the American way of life, which I think most people don't want to do.
I don't even think that's true.
But there are studies, for example, in Louisiana where they have major, there was the oil, I forget exactly, the facilities that were there. There's a good book about it, and I'm removing the name. The people there who were the most affected by the oil industry and others are the most Republican, because they are like, listen, at the end of the day, even though they're literally being poisoned by some of the things around them.
Because their livelihoods are tied to extraction.
Yeah, but their point is that it's clear to me that the left, the Green New Deal, etc., wants to do away with my job, and I don't trust that they're going to do
because who told them that? It wasn't the left that told them that. It was the right that told them that.
So you think that they're brainwashed, or they can think for themselves?
I think that they've looked at.
I think they're right.
I think they've looked at the failures of the government in the past and things like NAFTA to be able to deliver quality of life. But I mean, again, I'm not saying it's an easy problem, but how's the American way of life going in LA right now? How's the American way of life going in Asheville, North Carolina right now? How's the American way of life going in huge parts of the Gulf Coast that have been devastated by hurricanes and are going to be? How's the American way of life going in Miami, where when it rains, it just floods the whole city? So yeah, yes, there would be a cost. There would be a transition period. But the consequences of not acting, you ignore the consequences of not acting.
Oh, I'm not ignoring.
And those are absolutely grave and dire. And instead, want to talk about there's a lesbian in charge of the fire department. Isn't that the real problem?
See,
no,
I
it's
think
not
that's
the
a
real
straw
fucking
man
problem.
too, for the fact that we're talking about DEI itself, which has been pervaded through the California government. But beyond that, which is bringing it to a.
I mean, it's kind of annoying to me because these can both be true. It can be true that, yes, as an issue becomes massively, heavily politicized, it becomes very difficult to talk about effectively. I mean, this is what we saw with Trump, is that you essentially had, the Democrats have been saying for years, oh, the big business Republicans, they want to screw you over and take all your money and blah, 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 blah. And people, Sagar Saimo, people in red areas of the country would just tune out because it's a Democrat saying it. Maybe they have a, in their own minds, they have a justification that makes sense for it or not. And they just kind of ignore it. And then as soon as Trump comes along and he's on the right, or he's running as on the right because he's been on the left, he runs on the other side now. And he says basically the same issue, but he frames it in a package that sort of goes along with people on the right's moral intuitions. Suddenly those people are 100% on board. Yeah, we're going to turn against the big business wing of the Republican Party. These people are evil and they're trying to rip us off. So that can all be true and is true. But then it's also true that, okay, well, it's the same thing with DI stuff. If you have this entire system built that's not built around putting the most competent people in positions of power, it's the most obvious thing on the planet that's going to produce bad results, that's going to produce results where highly incompetent people are going to constantly get put in these positions of power. Just it has to be. That's just the obvious way that these things are going to work out. Just by
it's going to be, of course. Yeah. Look, I think a lot of people on the left are changing right now. I think it was Barry Weiss was talking about how one of her friends who's woker than woke is turning into a hardcore Republican overnight over the wildfire situation.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe there will be some wake up, to this.
It's so obvious, especially when you have a dog in this fight.
Right.
You live here. It's the incompetence is so obvious. And then to have people blame it on the climate change is nebulous idea, which they all believe in climate change, but they're can we do both? I mean, I'm paying 50% of my income in taxes. It seems like maybe we could be doing a bit better than this.
Right.
I saw a thing too that California is dead last in taxes to services ROI. They do some list on, dead fucking last, the 50th state. Highest taxes, least money for your taxes. Look, why is our head of DWP making $750,000 a year? Fuck.
Right.
The president of the United States makes $400,000 a year. That just seems insane to me.
Well, and it's the whole climate, because it's even if we take and say, okay, climate change is the big factor here, or that causes the situation, right? Even if we take that we grant that as being true.
Sure.
As you're saying, right. Okay, well, there's only so much the state of California, there's only so much this city of Los Angeles can do to change that. So you can have a conversation about we need to have a broader conversation on a national level to change climate, to protect the climate and all that stuff. You can have that conversation. That's fine. But the city of Los Angeles can't do anything about that. The city of Los Angeles in the state of California can only be okay, well, we need to make sure that we can mitigate any damages that comes from the climate changing. We have to make sure we have the most competent people in places of power that are protecting the cities from fucking fires. And that just obviously appears to not be the case here. And
we have to adapt.
Right. And I think that's why it comes off as when, Crystal's saying it, I don't think that's her intention here. But that's why it definitely comes off as why you're basically running cover by just, talking and fixating so much on the climate change issue as like, as the main culprit here, right? Instead of just the horrible incompetence. Like, why doesn't she just make the argument here? Or maybe she doesn't believe it. I don't know. Because the argument would be like, even if you want to defend DI, you could say, well, I don't think it has anything to do with DI, but I do agree that, the people involved here are just highly incompetent.
Exactly.
Right? Like you could, like, that could be an argument that you could bring forward in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Democratic question. People have been bombarded with propaganda since I was probably born that, oh, everything is horrible, the sea levels are going to rise. Many of these predictions don't end up being true,
Yes.
which then no, but it's not, because people said, oh, X amount of coastline was going to disappear by, 2025, didn't happen. The same, catastrophic language is being used over and over again. People don't feel or see the fact that things are changing all that much beyond hurricanes and or fires. I think we should speak pragmatically. We can both accept that there will be more fire, more hurricane, et cetera, and say, okay, so what are we going to do about that? Well, we have to invest a lot more money in this and this. We don't necessarily need to say, oh, all electric cars are going to be driven in the state of California by 2030. Ridiculous, absurd, never going to happen in the first place. At the end of the day, it's about a consumptive mindset, which fundamentally you're talking there about transition. That requires a lot of trust from people that their lives and their jobs and all this quote unquote just transition language was going to happen. I don't think there is any reason after the failures of COVID or after the last 5 years to say that would be competently managed, or it would be one in which we should, as a vision, buy into. We have probably one of the most atomized, individualistic times in modern American history. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and immigration being number one. But in all of that, you will not get to a point where everyone's just going to buy into this kumbaya, like, oh, I'm going to give up, 30% of my consumption for some quote-unquote
you're
just
just like
transition.
making that up.
No, I'm not.
You
because
are.
Donald Trump just
You
won the popular
completely
vote.
are, but
Who is
Sagar,
against electric vehicle mandates?
Sagar,
Like,
what I'm saying
against
you're
the Paris
making up
Climate
is
Accords.
the 30. You're going to have to reduce your consumption 30%. Blah blah blah.
Well, I think
maybe
Michael
if you're like one of an Elon Musk of the world, maybe that might require some sacrifice. But I mean, what you're basically saying is we can't solve any big collective
No, I'm not
problem
saying that we
together.
can't solve
like,
it.
just
I'm
give
saying
up.
we can't
we cannot solve any big collective problem. We're too atomized. We're too individual. So forget about it. Just let her rip.
This is such like the moral argument. Like she's basically saying, this is a problem for our society. Instead of focusing on the localized problem, she's like, look, our hands are tied until we can come together as a society across the world, right? Until John Lennon's Imagine is implemented, then we really are just powerless.
Well, yeah, and it's like thinking about it from the climate change perspective, I mean, if you're in California, I think you should be like extra mega pissed off about the situation, because it's like, okay, so California goes out of its way to do all this climate change stuff, and like the number one thing that people from California feel is, California gas prices are always so much higher because they have some specific,
That's
climate
another thing.
change,
Yep.
requirements, which I mean, I know California is a very big state, it's a very rich state, so, there's going to be some effect, right? It's, such a populated state in America, but in the whole global scheme of things, I skeptical
It's bullshit.
that
Totally.
like, yeah, if the California, gas is, 10% better for the environment or something, is that going to have any sort of impact on the world as a whole, right? Probably not. And so it's like, okay, to kind of have the climate change conversation when the state's already doing this, people are already spending all this extra money for it, and it's probably not even doing anything. It's kind of like an extra slap in the face.
Yeah. It's funny. There's this survey I saw people passing around that up to 30% of electric vehicle owners want to switch back to combustion engines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, that's devastating. Like if a third of people who have EVs are like, these aren't so great.
Yeah,
It's got to be based around the range. And
I mean,
the long time
for
to charge, obviously.
Right. Like for me, it's crazy because I didn't know that the EVs had this problem where, if there's saltwater flooding, they could catch fire.
Oh yeah.
Like that was like, oh my God, if you live in some place with like flooding or hurricanes, dude, like, do you really want one of these things?
Well, look, California is talking about forcing everyone to adopt EVs. That's why it's just
Right.
devastating. So when people say, "Oh, they don't want EVs," I'm thinking, well, look, if the people who own EVs don't even want EVs in substantial numbers, uh, that's
Yeah, I mean,
awful.
they'll, obviously they're gonna get better at some point. At some point, it probably will make sense for everyone to have EVs, but I don't,
Let's
you
hope.
know,
Yeah.
right, but I don't think, you know, I'm not on board with saying, okay, well, you have to make everyone in the state, get one.
No.
That seems crazy. But
Trip and hope that
we
you're
can
one of the
stop it
people
here.
who can
Sort of.
afford the
Okay.
private firefighters when it.
She's going to the private firefighters.
I know. So someone sent me a message on Twitter about my immigration tag that I should clarify here because I wasn't actually referring to this. I don't have a problem with like Chinatown, right? In New York or California. And I know like in California when I went and visited you, there's a little like Japanese town area, right? I don't have a problem with,
Koreatown.
yeah, like when I talk about these little enclaves, I'm not talking about having sort of a little area that becomes, Chinatown or Japantown or Koreatown or whatever that's like kind of like a tourist attraction. It's like a couple blocks, everything's in another language. Like that's totally fine. I'm not complaining about that whatsoever. I think those are cool. I think most people probably like those. It's nice, you go there, you can get your real, cuisine experience from the country that, it's about. That's totally fine. What I'm talking about is like in South Florida where I live, where it's not like, oh, there's a little, Cuba town, right? And, it's like, oh, it's like, a couple of blocks where everyone speaks, Spanish or whatever. It's like, no, you have in like the entire city or like giant swaths of the city, you'll have a bunch of people immigrate into the area. They don't speak English, right? And so you're going to a normal store, you go to a grocery store, it's not in fucking Chinatown, it's not in some specific area, and you're like, I can't talk to anyone who works here because no one fucking speaks English, right? Or I go out or I have to call someone, about, getting my car fixed, or I have to call someone about something, and I literally can't communicate with someone because everyone speaks Spanish. Okay, that's what I'm talking about in terms of like breaking up enclaves. Or I know in some states there's like, I think there's the same thing with some people from Middle Eastern countries all sort of clumping together. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about sort of like these kitschy tourist areas like Chinatown or something like that. Those are totally fine.
Do you think those get started by different nationalities clumping together? I don't know how those originate.
Like the Chinatowns and stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know how they originate either, but
seems
I
like they
don't.
probably
Right.
grow out of just some sort of enclave that you.
They might, but again, as I said, that's not what I'm talking about. That's
Right. Yes.
very
Yeah.
different than what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I don't think most people have a problem with that, with those areas. Or at least I don't personally have a problem with those areas. So
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for super chats here.
Yeah, the
I
Blank
can't
Skateboard
remember
Fedora
where we
says
were.
sent DM Sitch should tweak his anti-enclave tweet. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. So
Right.
yeah, and he said, perfect. I figured that was a take. Just thought the way you're saying it could use more clarification. Thank you. Yes, I do appreciate that. Libertarian Sasquatch for 13 months says, I hate climate change talks because both sides just ignore each other's arguments, but to people on the left, it's become a pseudo-religious topic. That is true.
Very true. Yes.
Yeah.
And a way to like beat up on the right. So not like, I mean, the right has plenty of ways to beat up on the left too. So it's not just
Right.
exclusive, but.
Noel screaming to the void for $5 says, climate change is not different than praying for absolution, only making poor people sacrifice for rich people's sins. Yeah, a big problem is what Sagar was saying, which is, I mean, I think Sagar's around my age. We both grew up with this very like, in 20 years, they were telling me this 20 years ago, in 20 years, like Florida's going to be underwater, everything's going to be on fire, everything's going to be like a disaster. Obviously, when that doesn't happen, you're like, oh, okay, like what's going on here? Was this all wrong? Was it intentionally wrong? Was it accidentally wrong? How do I figure out what is real in this conversation? And that's why I kind of throw up my hand in the climate change scenario in terms of trying to adjudicate these claims.
Yeah. You
I'm
kind of
not
have
sure
to.
anybody knows. So
The suggestions that, and I really should, I think False Alarm is the name of Born Longberg's last book. I should reread that book now that everyone's talking about climate change, because he has a bunch of really pertinent suggestions in there that are not expensive things that could easily be done. So it's just kind of crazy that everyone is like, you know, we have to spend $500 billion or do nothing. There has to be some kind of middle ground here.
Cameraman 502 for $5 says, I find the lack of discussion of CEQA and NPA on breaking points disturbing. How can either policy be acted on when environment reviews cause delays?
So I wonder if this is the aqueducts that we voted for in 2014 that were never built. Yeah. Look, the environmentalists control this state, and they often prevent projects from moving forward because they just, you know, they want to protect some small furry creature, which, look, I like the small furry creatures too, but I think ultimately we have to think in terms of maintaining our civilization. So
well, and that's what's always annoying with the politicization of these things, is because it's like, yes, if there was, you know, a state or national environmental regulation that made it so it was more difficult to have more water, or more difficult to clean the brush, or whatever, you know, it's important on just a completely tangible, logistical level that we fucking get to the bottom of that so you can change the shit. And it's like, no one will ever, because no one ever wants to take responsibility and say, oh, okay, this was a mistake, right? So just it all gets covered up. Patrick's a base life for $5 says, without DEI, they might already have the job, but with it, their qualifications will always be in question. True. That is a good point. Yeah, that is a good point too. And that's, you know, something that obviously people or minorities have complained about with affirmative action policies for years, is it makes everyone, you know, highly suspect if they're in a position. And
the clip that's going around of the woman saying she wants someone who looks like her to show up, you know, in case of a fire, is just so offensive, because it's basically saying that everybody in their homes is like racist or hates white people, right? They don't want to see a fucking white person show up at their house. It's just it's completely toxic to the whole discourse.
Definitely. Tommy Simonson for 50 Donkey Kong dollars says, how does LA believe in climate change and cut $70 million for prevention? Sounds a lot like a virtue signaling and doing the opposite.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Oh, it is massively. It's like a cult at this point. So you got to talk about the catastrophe around the world. Look, we all heard Crystal Ball lay out all of the talking points in like 5 seconds. Yes.
Ryan Rule has another one of these interesting challenges. Ryan Rule for $10 says, okay, you get $500 million. Okay. But you have to pick a word in your native language. And if someone says that word within a 700-foot radius of you, you explode. What word would you pick?
Oh my God. I have no idea. But obviously you'd have to pick a word that nobody ever says, right?
Yeah, obviously I can't.
Califragilisticexpialidocious.
No, that's no. Obviously I can't choose a word I know, because the whole point would be. That's a good one. I'd have to choose a word. I'd be like, okay, what are the most unused obscure words like in the English language, right? Like you got to go to the list. Like, what's the most obscure word? Find like the most obscure words you've ever fucking heard ever that will never be used. And be like, that's
definitely not voluminous. People
definitely
be blowing up all over the place.
Voluminous, no. It's crazy. I type in like obscure words. One of them comes up as ephemeral. I'm like, I've heard that all the fucking time.
That's not. People say that all the time.
Yeah,
sesquipedalian, I think is.
That's a good one. I've only ever heard you say that.
You're safe with sesquipedalian, yeah.
Right. Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says, over under on the LGBT firefighters at the Oscars. Oh,
they are going to be there. It's going to be these Hollywood celebrities are so fucking out of touch. And look, they don't even realize it. It's completely invisible to them. So their ultimate goal is to go in there and create empathy around the world for the plight of climate change. That's exactly what they're going to do. Oh God, it's going to be horrible, but whatever.
Okay, here's a good word. Flibbertigabit.
Oh, that's good. I never even heard that.
I know
What's
it
that
refers to someone who's silly and talks incessantly.
mean? Mm-hmm.
There's another good word is taradiddle. Someone or something that's filled with pretentious nonsense. Taradiddle.
Tardiddle, huh?
Never
Oh,
heard
okay.
that one.
I like
Have you
that.
heard of this cattywampus? Is a
I've heard
southern
it. I don't know what it means.
a southern term referring to something being in disarray. Or gardyloo. This is a Scottish term, so I guess maybe it wouldn't count. Where people would shout it out their window before they threw out their shit from the window. Gardyloo.
Well, no one's saying that because they have indoor plumbing now, right? So you're
Right,
safe
right.
there.
I guess you're safe on the Gardyloo one. So
Lane's Escape Quarter for $2. Oh, I guess we already read that one.
yeah, here's a word. Bibble. Bibble, is it bibble or bibble? People who in your favorite restaurant eat or drink noisily. It's a bibble. Never heard that one.
I don't like that. I don't like noisy
You don't like
eaters,
the
so
mouse sounds? You don't like the
nope.
ASMR mouth?
Terrible.
ASMR? Oh, okay.
Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says 14 years of not clearing brush is climate change. Hands up emoji. Yep.
Yes.
Or I guess that's a shrug emoji.
I'm gonna say there's a
Yeah.
9 out of 10 chances those lesbian firefighters are gonna show up at the Oscars.
Oh, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
Mayor Bass is going to be there.
Oh God.
Gavin Newsom is going to be there.
Oh no.
Look, we got to bring everyone that everyone fucking hates together so that they can all virtue signal about climate change.
There's gonna be a video too.
Oh, of course. Of
Like
all
Gavin
of the,
Newsom and the mayor like looking solemn, nodding their heads as they talk to firefighters. You know, the city behind them's on fire.
Have you seen that clip of Gavin Newsom obviously dancing because he's lying to some reporter's face and he's doing the like
Dancing.
It's so weird. He does this weird like the body language is obviously like a 5-year-old lying about stealing cookies from the cookie
I know.
jar.
Yes. You're like, yeah, when they're like fidgeting around a lot.
Yeah.
Really, oh,
Like
yeah.
it's
I haven't seen
so
the video, but no.
painfully obvious what's going on.
Right.
The only people that are buying any of this are the massively partisan idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who've
I did
obviously
see-
lost nothing except for the person that they think could be president in 2028 because everyone had a lot of hope in Gavin Newsom.
There's no fucking way after this.
Oh,
my
he's
God.
going to be running.
I know
I
he
can't
is,
wait
but-
for the shit show. It's going to
I
be something sight to behold, as they say.
I thought Gavin was a long shot anyway. I think Gavin has a really bad vibe to him. He has a very used car salesman
Lying vibe.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to work on the national stage. But I did see this really weird video. It was of the LA mayor, and she's at like a press conference or something. She's not talking. Other people are talking. And it's like she always has this like weird, like she has like a resting smirk.
She has
I
a
don't know.
Joker face.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I don't know if that's just the way her face looks or something, but it's like really bad. It's like the people are talking about like people's houses being burned up, and she just has like this resting smirk face. I'm like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah, it's like
gotta
the dolphin.
get some tape your lips down. Like, what's happening here?
Everyone thinks dolphins are always happy because the corners of their mouths curl up.
Right,
But it's
exactly.
just they don't have any control of that shape
Right.
of their face, right?
Yes.
She has that kind of thing going. It is
Right.
very Jack Nicholson Joker type look. It's
Mhm.
fascinating. So
J-Mac, thanks so much for Circuit Fire for $20. Says, I think I told you guys this before, but when I was in 5th grade, we were asked to use one word to describe ourselves from the yearbook. Everyone chose unique, athletic, or fun. I chose syllogistic. It's got the
syllogistic.
smug monocle emoji.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Someone who knows syllogisms?
Yes, syllogistic is an adjective that means related to syllogisms, which is a type of logical argument that uses two general statements to reach a specific conclusion. Look at you,
Wow.
Jay. Look
Premise,
at you.
premise, conclusion.
Right.
It's always fun.
Chris Hakeem for €5 says another reminder for Sitch to pays bet to Adam 18 for the win. Listen, I honestly thought I did. If I didn't, I feel awful now. I feel terrible.
Well, look, look, and I don't want to call you out or anything. Obviously, we did talk about this, so we'll talk about it off stream. But
Okay,
look,
I thought I did, but I don't remember now.
no payment has ever been made. So, but we'll fix it.
We'll fix this. Meme Sprend for $2 says my word is Wondershins. Widdershins. Widdershins. There you go. That's a good one. In a direction, it means in a direction contrary to the sun's course. It's considered unlucky, counterclockwise. That's a good one. I've never heard that word in my entire life.
Widdershins?
Widdershins, yeah.
I guess those are the words that you're looking for. So,
yep.
This was great stream. I'm very angry now. I think Crystal Ball lives in Washington, D.C., right? So she's not in Cal. Look, I like Crystal Ball. We've been on Crystal and Kyle's show. So I just think, oh, my God.
Bad take. Bad take.
Yeah. But look, you're entitled to your bad takes. So that's
true.
why we're here, right?
Exactly. To have nothing but correct takes, obviously.
All right.
Anyway, take
Anything
care.
else?
See you guys all on Sunday.
Bye-bye.